Welcome back, nerdy movie fans. For this video, we're going to talk about the next two episodes of Daredevil Born Again Season 2. So this will be episode 2 and 3. Because they release at the same time, I figured it would be a little bit easier just to review both of them in this video. Not only that, does it make it easier, but this episode 2 and episode 3 kind of felt like a part 1 and part 2 of one story. It all had its own finale toward the end of episode 3, and the stories just, both episodes just kind of flowed together to feel like one long episode. So what's interesting is I had read that some people had some complaints with season 1 where some people felt like that a lot of the side characters deserved more of their own story. And so that is exactly what we're seeing in this season. We got who will become White Tiger, presumably, getting more story with her and her aunt. You got Daniel, who's getting more and more story, investigating Baby, who's also getting more story. So Daniel's kind of suspecting that she's the one with the leak with this Mayor Kingpin video going around. So we see more of his sort of trying to embody more of what Fisk is. Daniel's kind of, he's trying to threaten Baby, but he's doing it in his own nice way, but he's trying to emulate the behavior of the Kingpin. So we see that story is pretty interesting. And then Cherry gets a little bit of story, and Kirsten gets a little bit more as well, where she's the one representing Jack Duquesne, which is the part 1 and 2. I would say he was kind of the backbone of these episodes, because the trial of a vigilante at all is sort of what Fisk is going for. That's his main point for these episodes. But because they hear about Bullseye getting involved saving Daredevil, there's a lot of talk about Bullseye. You know, is he going to come after Kingpin? Is he going to come after Vanessa Fisk? Is he's going after Matt Murdock now? So everyone sort of in the first part of these episodes, everyone's really speculating who is Bullseye's target, who is he helping. He's basically this wild card, which makes his character extremely interesting because you don't really know whose side he's really on. He did save Daredevil, but we don't know if he's doing that because he was hired to do so. He could be working with Fontaine. He could be working as an agent with her. Vanessa Fisk could have wanted him to try to take someone out, but decided to save Daredevil instead. Or maybe she wanted him to try to kill him. There's a lot of speculation as to Bullseye's motives, as they aren't really laid out in front of us yet. So Bullseye's story is becoming very interesting, and in my opinion, one of the more interesting characters so far, given his minimal screen time until this point. And so we see Matt and Karen's relationship sort of evolving. In the past, it was sort of this romance between vigilante and reporter, pretty much. I mean, that's the generic way of summing it all up. This season, she's very much taking on a different approach. She's getting more involved. She's fighting hand-to-hand combat. She's fighting with handguns. Her character's more involved now than ever before. And a lot of it's probably with all this anger from Boggy being killed. But irregardless, her character has just become more interesting because her character has grown so much. So I think that the relationship side between Karen and Daredevil, I would say it's more interesting now than ever before. And then Fisk obviously is getting so much story where he's trying to control the city, but now we're seeing he's got the governor is trying to basically put him on a leash, so to speak. And then we got Mr. Charles, who wasn't in these episodes, but we know he's worked with the CIA, who's also involved he's toying around with Kingpin a little bit. So it's interesting going from Daredevil Born Again Season 1 to see Kingpin have this full control over the office, where now he's got people higher up or around him trying to say, okay, you've done a little bit too much. We're going to try to constrict your freedom. And he doesn't want that. So he's getting pushback from these other political rivalries, so to speak. And so we're getting that side of Fisk. We're getting him going after Daredevil. We're getting him... we're seeing his loyalty to Matt Murdock because Matt saved him, which is another interesting fact, where we have Buck, who builds a little bit more of a relationship with Daniel, which is getting interesting. Buck knows Daredevil's Matt Murdock, and he encourages Fisk, saying, hey, this would be easier if everyone knew they were the same. Fisk's like, no, I'm holding that over him, pretty much. And so he's changing the optics by maneuvering, doing what he does, saying, hey, all these people, Daredevil's a criminal, go find him. And then he's saying, hey, Matt Murdock's a hero, go find him. So he's got people who are on both sides looking for him, which is just so interesting. I just love the clever script for these episodes. The way the story is being handled is just so, it feels very much like Fisk. And I know there are a lot of people that said that Born Again felt like a toned down version of what the Netflix series was, and maybe it is at times, and maybe you could argue that for season 1, but I would defend season 2 to say it's not the case. There's a lot more swearing, the violence is more gritty, it's more gruesome, and Kingpin is definitely a much smarter character, it would seem, this season than last season if you had to compare the two. So I would say the writing is absolutely on point with these episodes so far. There is also a lot of people had a very extremely valid complaint from season 1 where Matt Murdock wasn't in the suit all that much. In this season, he's Daredevil most of the time. So it's kind of like we're giving fans what they're giving fans what they want. We're getting more Daredevil in the suit. We're getting more Kingpin doing what Kingpin does, not as the mayor trying to manipulate things, even though there is a lot of both going on. And so, and the point of these episodes, the big story is the vigilante trial. So Kirsten is finally gets them to agree to have a meeting with Jack Duquesne because she's representing him. And because of this meetup, when Daredevil finds out, he's like, she's going to know to give me the right description from where she was to be able to tell him where this place is. And so we have that going on, which is really interesting. So as all this is building toward the finale, Jack Duquesne is found guilty because the system is rigged, because that's how Fisk is playing it. As he's presumably sent back to where he was being held before, Daredevil now goes to this place. He's finding where this place is, and his target is all of the weapons that was on the Northern Star. He's trying to destroy their weapons, but he ends up finding the prisoners, and it becomes about saving the people instead. So now as he's letting them all out, Jack Duquesne is now freed, so he has vigilante help, whereas our new White Tiger has now shown up to Karen Page offering her help. So now we got a couple vigilantes joining the mix, presumably to become those vigilantes. And as this big breakout happens, Daredevil's like, man, we got the people out, but I couldn't get the weapons. Fisk has the whole ship blown up with the crew inside. We don't see how he's going to spin the optics of that. That's presumably for the next episode, but that is our finale. So, like I said, there are so many characters that everything keeps ramping up. We're getting so many stories, so many characters, but it all blends together so seamlessly. And it's so impressive how everyone is written so well. Everyone's story matters. You think one character connects to this character connects to the other, but they're all a part of the same web of stories. So I just really find it very interesting right now. I'm extremely invested in this season. The action is really cool. Like I said, Daredevil's just more violent than he has been before. So it's just kind of transitioned from this vigilante character to this badass hero that we all know and love. So it's very exciting, and I'm very glad that the writing is on point yet again. It feels like how it used to be, and I'm just very excited for the rest of the season. We still got more characters that we know show up later on to make their debut, and there's so much more story to be had. So I'm really enjoying this season. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching my review on it. Keep it digging, everyone.